Hello, I'm Kerwin Gaines, and this is The Agenda, where we're cutting through the noise and getting to what actually matters. Not the spin, not the talking points, not the carefully rehearsed outrage, but the decisions that shape your paycheck, your kid's school, and the safety of your block. Our guest, State Representative Madinah Wilson-Anton, represents Delaware's 26th district and has already helped push through education reforms that tighten school board residency rules, expand virtual access to meetings, and make sure the people running your schools actually live and show up for your community. In Austin, she had 60 seconds to win over a room full of strangers. In Delaware, she has 2 years to prove she's serious about housing, education, and justice, while still being a rare lawmaker willing to joke about being a lawmaker. Welcome, Representative Madinah Wilson-Anton, to The Agenda.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, first-time guest.
Yes, hopefully not the last.
I hope it won't be either. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I've seen you at events and passing, and it's like, hey, that's her, that's her. And then I'm at work, okay? I'm at work, and I'm watching Kill Tony, don't tell anybody.
On the clock.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And there you are. And you're funny. I didn't know.
Yeah, I've been told.
When did all this start?
I started doing stand-up comedy about 3.5 years ago.
Right.
But since I was a kid, I always wanted to do comedy. My uncle is a comedian, and so I knew from a young age it was a career path. But like many in my generation, we're kind of told to go to school and get a real job and don't do the arts.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and I was elected in 2020. Doing speaking engagements, and I realized very quickly that my favorite part of every speech were the punchlines that I was peppering in, and so I took a class in Philadelphia in 2022.
Okay.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Is history.
I mean, it takes guts. People might not know, and we'll have clips that'll show a little bit of what Kill Tony is all about, and the stress I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Because you're on a national stage. It isn't like you're just doing that here. I mean, you're doing that on a national stage, and it's forever on the internet.
Yes.
So you know what I mean? So if you bomb, if you do well, if you don't, boom, there it is for everybody to see. And you killed it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It did.
Yeah.
And you're going back to Austin to hit that comedy scene again.
I'm going to try my best. Yes.
Hard and get the feel of it and the whole 9 yards.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to get back on the show. I didn't get a golden ticket, which is the pinnacle, right, of an appearance on the show, is to be asked to come back. So I'm going to put my name in the bucket again and hope to get my name pulled. It
will.
Yeah.
It will. And you're doing all of that and dealing with reassessments for property, like for the county. How do you balance all that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's humor in it. I think it's humor. You have to find some, or you'll go absolutely crazy with what's going on. But I love what you've done with the education legislation and ensuring school board transparency and all these other things. It's great. But how do you balance all that? Yeah,
well, Delaware, we're in session from January until end of June, most of the time. This year was a very interesting year because the Delaware State House and Senate went back in multiple times to deal with issues. And I can't say that I'm an international comedian yet because I had an international gig booked for the weekend of August the 10th in Canada. And we had to go into session and we had to handle the reassessment issue that came up this summer. So that's always going to be the priority for me. As long as I'm in elected office, representing my constituents is my priority. And so I was in Legislative Hall. We were there for a very long time, but it was necessary. And so, hopefully one of these days I'll be able to say I'm an international comedian, but for now I am a nationally touring comedian. And we were able to get some really important bills passed to help alleviate the concerns folks had around their reassessment and their property tax bills and monthly payments and sheriff sales and all those types of things. So I'm very glad that I was able to be here for that and that I wasn't on stage telling jokes at the time.
I mean, there's so much. Tell us a little bit about your district, 26th.
Yes, the 26th district is my hometown area. It's southern Newark, unincorporated Newark, and a little bit of Bear.
What high school did you go to?
I went to the charter school of Wilmington.
Okay.
But my feeder pattern school would have been Glasgow.
Okay. I'm Glasgow. Ivan's Glasgow. We're all Glasgow.
Dragons. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost completely homes and communities. There's not much businesses. There's a couple strip malls, small ones. We have Burlington Coat Factory.
There's that.
Hobby Lobby, the new Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Right. And then one of the best pizza spots in the state, Amore's, is in the district. And then beyond that, it's all people living with their families.
Right.
And it's a majority minority district. One of the most diverse districts in the state, has the highest percentage of foreign-born nationals. And like I said, it's where I grew up. It's home. I think it's a beautiful kind of microcosm of our country. We have everything from $500,000 homes to Section 8 housing and everything in between, mobile homes, apartments, townhomes. And I get to talk to people in all these different, parts of our communities whenever I'm outdoor knocking, and they give me a call. And, some of the bills that you shared came from my community, right? Like, we want to see accountability on the school board. What are you doing to bring accountability to the school board? And,
right.
That's where the charge comes from.
So my fear is that you become an international comedian and that district loses you and everything that you're doing. Is that real? Is that a real concern for me?
I will say that my dream job is to be a comedian.
Right.
And I would love to be one of those names that you don't quite recognize. You're like, why does that name sound familiar? After you watch a really good movie or a really good TV show, and you're like, I feel like I've seen that name before.
Right.
But I could just walk down the street and nobody knows who I am. That would be like the dream, is to be able to be creative and write stories and share them with the world, but not necessarily be like on the road all the time.
So I have to think, just from an investigative standpoint, what was it like growing up? I mean, to be a comedian, there's always certain people become comedians. There's something that has caused that to happen in your life.
Yeah, some kind of illness.
Something. Some
kind of problem, trauma, if you will.
Trauma that has caused that to happen. And then equally, to be a politician,
also trauma. Yeah.
So in order to get both, like what was it like growing up in your home to get this? I mean, you don't have to tell me everything, but I just want to know what the root cause.
If I tell you everything, I've had to pay you $40 for copay or something.
I'll take it too.
You gotta sign a HIPAA or something.
To create this. I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, okay, so I come from a big family. I have 5 sisters.
5 sisters?
Yes, so I'm number 2 of 6, no brothers.
Oh.
And our family is a fun family. I will tell you, of the 6 of us, I'm not the funniest.
Really?
No.
Okay. That sounds like you're challenging yourself.
In a way, but also recognizing like some people are just funny. Like 2 of my sisters in particular, I would say, are just witty. Like they're just quick-witted and they have the jabs like immediately. And I'm like, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
Like they're just gifted in that way. But I think growing up in a family with a lot of kids where we're all trying to like get a word in edgewise and entertain each other. I think that's probably where it comes from. But it's a funny family. Like my grandmother, my uncle's a comedian. His mother, I call her the first comedian in the family. She's always doing a bit. Yeah. Even now with dementia, she's in a.
She's doing bits while having dementia?
Yes.
And the dementia is not a bit.
No, but sometimes we wonder.
All right.
Because of the timing, we're like, are you trying to avoid talking about some hard truths real fast? The timing is interesting. But like we went to visit her and I'm pre-diabetic. I'm like trying to control my blood sugar, right? Yeah. So everybody knows this. And one of my sisters had some apricot like treat, some kind of pastry. And she's like, oh, you want to try this? And I was like, ooh, yeah, let me try. And then my husband was like, you can't have that. Like, you gotta, and then she was like, oh, you're right. You shouldn't have it. So they're keeping it from me. And I'm like, let me just have a little bit of the apricot bar. And my grandmother goes, she's right. She didn't know what we were talking about. She's right to me. And I was like, yeah, Nana says I'm right. And then she goes, "Where's my money?"
Yeah, she knows what's going on.
Yeah,
It's just an act.
she'll do like little stuff like that where I'm like, she doesn't even know what's going on, but she knows how to navigate the space to make us laugh.
Yeah.
And that's a skill.
Yeah, it is. And with politicians, a lot of this is keeping people happy, right? And we talked about it a little bit off the air, is having a conversation with people when times are difficult.
Yeah.
And being able to get the message across, and then having the message being well received, right? So some people hear it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a skilled communicator to be a good politician and to be a good comedian. And, I took a class in 2022. One of the first rules that my teacher told us, he said, the first rule of comedy is not to be funny, it's to relate to the audience. And that was kind of like an eye-opener for me, sitting there as, an aspiring comedian. But that's something that you really have to do as a politician, is to really represent your community. You have to relate to them. And that was part of what was so exciting about the first campaign, when I got to go door to door and talk to my neighbors, was having those conversations and relating to your neighbor and sharing. Like, I shared my experience growing up and going through the schools here, and they were like, that's what I experienced, or that's what my child experienced, or I didn't want my child to experience that, and so I sent them to a charter school, etc. But I think the skill of relating to someone that's different from you in some ways, but finding that commonality, sharing your values, it crosses across both politics and comedy.
Yeah.
Or the arts, honestly, the arts more generally.
So you've mentioned before that you're very secure in your faith, and you were the first Muslim woman to be elected to the state legislature. So with all of and you talked about how diverse your district is, what is your feelings right now about what's going on with immigration policy? And just curious to know, like, what is your district talking to you about?
Yeah, so my district is very diverse, like I said, and so that was a concern from before Trump was reelected, and then after, when they started escalating with tactics with ICE. One of the few ICE sightings that's been recorded on video in our state was in my district, in one of the neighborhoods that is right next to mine, that I've knocked plenty of times in. And prior to that, we had walked certain neighborhoods in the district that we felt might be targeted to share information and get people like more empowered to feel like they knew what their rights were. But I can say there's a lot of fear right now. And just this feeling of kind of powerlessness, because even with that information that we're sharing, ICE is not following federal laws.
No, they're not.
And so it's a feeling of helplessness, really, where it feels like there's nothing that you can do to protect people that you care about.
And they're being encouraged by the president to even become more difficult.
Yeah.
And making it harder for people to go through this process, from traffic stops to whatever. He's kind of like, anything goes, folks, just,
Yeah.
And they're getting that from the president of the United States.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's anathema to who we are as a country, I think, and who we hope to be as a country. Our values, what we were founded on, our principles, and like, I'm not gonna say that America's been perfect, because it hasn't been, but it does feel like we're moving backwards in that space. So it's been really hard. And even before Trump was reelected, I mean, as the only Muslim in the State House, I've been hearing from Muslims across the state for years now around issues of immigration and trying to reunify families, and just having trouble getting through to the different agencies at the federal level that handle immigration. So there's a lot of families that are hurting right now. And just this week, the administration basically was like, we're shutting down all immigration from certain countries. And I know families that's going to impact, that are trying to bring loved ones over for medical issues, or just to be, with the people they love. And I can't imagine, being in that situation. It's really hard, and it's difficult as someone who's been elected to help your community to be in office in a time like this, where it feels like often there's nothing I can do other than hear you out and try to get you resources.
Right.
It's pretty hard.
What's and I'm just curious, and I'm not asking you to out any of your fellow representatives, but what's the feeling in Dover about immigration policies that are going on in the state? Are there people that are down there saying, yay, way to go, Trump, 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 this is what it is? Are they just more, are they worried about Delawareans and their safety?
I would say the majority of my colleagues share my concerns, have heard from their constituents. And I think there's also a lot of folks on the other side of the aisle who recognize that immigration is what built this country, and it's what we need to move forward, to progress. And so, folks that represent farmers, farmers are not clamoring for people to get locked up and kidnapped from their families, right? So from my perspective, it seems like most of my colleagues think that this has gone a bit far.
Right.
Even those that think we have an immigration problem don't think that the tactics that are being used are correct or fair or humane. And I just saw just this week, there's some ads now, national ads, to try to make people who are joining ICE feel that social stigma and pressure. And I think that's probably what we need to do as a country, is just make it completely unacceptable to be within your community and be part of ICE.
Right.
Like, you should be otherized.
I don't think, other than working in insulation, do you need to be in a job where you require a mask, right? Or some type of chemicals or something. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in a job of law enforcement.
Yeah, you should feel proud, safe, to be out and be seen.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's the kind of, it reminds me of like the books you read in high school, right? Where it's like, this is what a future dystopian society looks like.
We are well on our way.
Yeah.
We are well on our way. And still the president polls about 44% of the country thinks he's doing a hell of a job.
Yeah. I mean, I do, and I catch flack for this, but I do blame my own party for a lot of that, right? Like
catch flack. I do every time I'm on here. I think Democrats have done a horrible job, and they're continuing to do a horrible job.
It's like if in a sports match, right? Like you can win, and the other person can put in a valiant effort, or you could throw the game, right? Like, and I do feel like Democrats have thrown the game multiple times, and he's just won kind of, off a forfeit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not doing a great job at campaigning. We're putting forth candidates that are not speaking to the American people. And, I don't know what to do about that. I mean, Zohran in New York City, I think, is a great example of someone from the Democratic side who spoke to the issues that animate people's lives, affordability, and just stuck to that and didn't let any of the nonsense get him off track. People want to talk about him being Muslim and who he talked to and whose podcast he was on. And he's like, the bus is too slow and too expensive. Childcare is too expensive. Groceries are too expensive. I'm going to do something about that. And he won. And I think that's what the Democratic Party should be doing more of, is actually listening to what people are dealing with and offering solutions to those problems.
I think you're 100% right, and we need to figure out how to make the middle of the country, we're talking about on the national level, of course, but in the middle of the country, we as Democrats seem to have forgotten those people, and we've forgotten not necessarily their needs, but how to communicate with them. What is the message that we're putting out? What is the social media platforms that we're using? What is it that they deal with? I mean, if a Democrat's got to go and dressed in camouflage and sit down and talk about hunting for 5 minutes? Like, there's Democrats that do hunt.
There's plenty. I'm going to be hunting in the next month or so. As soon as my adoptive father, he says he's going to take me to his hunting range, and I can't wait. I have a shotgun. I have a shotgun. I'm a gun owner.
Right.
There are plenty of Democrats that are, and I think that what you pointed to is a perfect example of this. The Democratic Party elite being culturally out of touch with the majority of Democrats.
Right.
And like, who used to be the base, right? Like union members that work in the trades. Many of them own guns. Many of them are hunting. Many of them have boats and things like that, right? Like, they're not resonating with the Democratic Party. No. Because the Democratic Party is talking about, for the most part, taking away guns and gay marriage. That's it.
Right.
They're not talking about the cost of eggs, because a lot of them don't care.
Right.
Like, to be camouflaged, I guess, but also, why don't we just have people in Democratic leadership that don't need the camouflage, that are of the base, right? Like, when I went out to Texas, like, I was taking the Greyhound bus. just hanging out. I
You
wasn't
took the
incognito.
bus to
Not to
Texas?
Texas. I flew to Texas,
Oh,
and then
okay.
I took the bus around, right? Like
Okay.
I didn't rent a car and like shell all that money.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out with regular people, hearing them talk and have conversations, and like I cannot wait to do that again.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that I have noticed is once I got elected, the conversations people have around me have changed. And so sometimes I try to just like hang out and not say anything. Like one of my best friends never got vaccinated against COVID. Right?
Isn't it
like,
funny the people in your life that didn't?
No.
Like just
And like
completely against it?
sometimes like, you know, like I didn't know in the moment because we're all quarantined.
Right.
But like the year or so after we were hanging out and she was like, yeah, no, I didn't get the vaccine. And she was just talking about like why and her experience. And I pushed back a little bit, but I'm not gonna like argue and now make it like you can't tell me why you didn't, right? Because
Right.
I want to understand what's the thought process.
Right.
And so I've, over the past few years, chosen in a lot of those spaces with friends, with family, with neighbors, to just listen. Where are people coming from? Why do they feel that they can't trust the government? Why do they feel like, you know, Democrats hate guns or don't understand that people don't feel safe in their communities, right? I'm just gonna listen.
Yeah.
And then once I understand, ask some questions so I can figure out what can I do about that problem that you're dealing with. I think a lot of my colleagues tend to just be like, oh, I can't believe you didn't get vaccinated. And then they put you in this box like you're anti-science, you aren't educated, you know, and it's like, whoa, my friend's got a bachelor's degree and studied science. That's not why she didn't get vaccinated, right?
There's a trust factor there.
Yes.
There's a trust
Yes.
factor. And people don't trust, rightfully so,
Right.
don't trust the government the way that they should. And it shows, like you're saying, you have a friend that is a chemistry major, a bio major, or what have you, and chose not to take the vaccine. And somebody who understands the benefit of vaccines and decides not to do it.
Yes.
Amazing.
And if I just said, oh, you're a Republican, oh, you support Trump or you RFK, whatever,
Right.
and just shut it down and don't talk to her ever again, I'm not going to hear all the other opinions that she has that are similar to many Americans, right? And the issues and the reasons why she feels that way, like healthcare costs, grocery costs, childcare, bringing her son with her to work because she can't afford to send him some. Like, these are real issues people deal with. I don't have kids,
Right.
So I'm not gonna shut off every conversation with a friend of mine that I disagree with on one little thing and now not have access to all this information that can make me a better legislator.
Right.
And so sometimes that means biting your tongue.
Listen, you said it. You said it. Sometimes you have to listen and take it all in and know where everyone is coming from. But the one part that I'm not gonna let go is this honey. Like I need to hear about,
hunting?
because
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not seeing it right now.
You don't see it? Okay.
I don't see it right now.
So I have not actually gone hunting yet.
I believe that.
Okay. But I do own a bow and I've been shooting archery for longer than I've been doing comedy. And I have a shotgun, which
Okay.
I bought for home defense, but I would like to go out and actually at least shoot some clay.
Right. Oh, you haven't
See how it
gone down
goes.
to like Omalandin and
No,
and tried
I've
to-
only shot in New Jersey. Yeah.
Well, New Jersey's the place to shoot if
Yeah.
you're gonna shoot. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah.
And you know, that's a great example actually of, so I went to New Jersey, I'm at the range, guys in Trump hats hanging out, wonderful conversation. One of them was like, oh, I see you're struggling with the kickback. Have you tried shooting with the 22? No, I haven't. Here's mine. Give it a try. I'm garbed up.
Really?
Yeah. Completely polite, like very, very great conversation, great experience, right? But there are people who would have you believe that, oh, because you're covered or because you're black, anybody who's got a red hat on hates you.
Tell you the same thing, NASCAR event. I've been in a NASCAR event.
I went to NASCAR and had a great time.
Nicest people.
Yeah. I got sunburn at NASCAR.
And-
That's the whitest thing I ever did.
Top 5 whitest things you've ever done.
Went to NASCAR
Went to-
and got sunburn. Yeah, on here. Yep. Yeah, because you
I
can
can't
bring
beat
stuff
that.
into NASCAR. I didn't know that you could do that. I'm used to going to events like that, and you can't bring any liquids, you can't da da da.
Yeah.
Everybody had like hoagies
Coolers
and
like you gotta have the coolers
like,
and the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
I would have brought my sunscreen.
Yeah. Nicest people.
Yeah.
I was offered Bush and Bush Light and most Bud products. Just, hey man, thanks for coming out. You know what I mean? That type of thing. And it was, wow,
it was fun.
This is great.
Yeah, I would go again.
I want to go.
I would bring sunscreen though.
Yeah.
But just right, you have that experience, and if you weren't as open-minded, right, you would never go, or you'd be afraid to go because. Oh no,
I have my senses. Don't get me wrong.
But you should always have your senses.
Yeah, but when you're going to a NASCAR event, your senses, your antennas are up, especially when they start yeehawing and stuff.
But your ears are plugged, right, to protect yourself.
No.
I had the plugs in.
Okay.
You gotta protect your ears. It gets loud.
Yes, it does. Yeah. It's very loud. I wasn't sure on how loud it was going to be, but it was very loud. Right outside your district this week, there was an incident, right? A resident of Canby Park, Wilmington area, was apprehended for having a semi-automatic weapon and a manifesto of sorts with instructions on how to, I guess, have an attack on the University of Delaware Police Department. Yeah. And it's been turned over to the FBI now. The county police discovered it. Great job for them. But I mean, it's scary right now. Yeah. It's a scary time.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, like this is some scary stuff. And I think that it's important that we do use comedy and help get this message and being able to relate to people, because it can get out of hand, and it seems to be getting out of hand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It seems to be getting out of hand.
Yeah.
Do you see that as like a big plus for you?
I'll be honest. When I first started doing comedy, I didn't want anybody to know.
Really?
Yeah. I was performing under just my first name, which is not a common name. So, I don't know why I thought that was going to help. But I was like, I'm doing this for me. I'll see if it goes anywhere, if I'm good at it or not. Yeah. And I was at an open mic in Claymont, and I got off stage, and someone came up to me, and she was like, "Aren't you a state representative?" And I was like, "Oh no," because I really wanted to keep the two separate. But I have found that it's been very beneficial to bring some humor into politics, right? Into, like you said, tense conversations, to diffuse the emotions, to relate to people that I maybe don't have everything in common with, right? And to find common ground. And I've noticed my colleagues do the same thing, right? And it's also been an interesting exercise to talk about politics in comedy in a way that doesn't alienate people, but that brings people together. Yeah. And so I don't talk that much about politics when I'm on stage, but I'm a Black Muslim woman with vitiligo, who works as a state representative. So there's only so much that I can avoid it.
But that has to be working for you though. Like how many other, that, I would think that has to be a great selling point.
I will say a lot of times I'm the only woman on the lineup, and so when it's a bunch of white guys and they're like, we gotta do something about this, they're like, oh, she checks some boxes, put her on there. Oh, and she's funny. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been good. I've had a really good experience in the comedy space for sure.
And people at home may not know that Austin and Texas is now and even Nashville are like the true comedy centers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of the country, where we used to think it was LA and New York and you know, all these other places.
And it still is, but Austin and Nashville are definitely becoming hubs for comedy. And I love going to Austin because you can walk from within a few blocks to 5 or 6 different clubs. There's always open mics happening. Like here in Delaware,
I don't feel like I'm in Texas. Not that there's anything wrong with Texas. I love Texas. But when I'm in Austin, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, culturally, it's different. It is. It's the capital.
Yeah.
Right? There's a university. There's it has a different feel. But it definitely feels like an artsy town.
Yes.
There's live music. It's really fun. I really enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah. But there is also this feeling sometimes like it's right wing, it's edgy, Like there are folks that will just make jokes saying like offensive stuff because they feel like that's what everybody wants. And that's not my style.
Right.
But I think that's in a way a good thing, right? Because I do stand out.
Yeah.
When you have a lineup of guys that are making jokes about whatever topic that I'm not touching, and then I come in there and I'm just talking about having moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Like.
So how are you?
That's what I'm talking about.
I can honestly say that moderate plaque psoriasis is a first here on the agenda.
Yeah.
It has not been brought up before.
It hasn't been on the agenda?
It has not been brought up before.
We got to reevaluate
I
priorities.
do. There's some things that I got to take back to Ivan. We can have a conversation like, hey, we're missing the demographic.
Yeah. A lot of us struggle with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, Kerwin.
So has there been an instance where you just haven't felt comfortable with some of the rhetoric going back and forth with the folks on stage?
Ooh. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Like, man, I probably shouldn't have come out here. Have you been heckled?
Yes. I've been heckled a couple times. I've never been booed, thank God.
Right.
It's one day, probably.
Yeah.
It's a rite of passage, if you will.
Right.
But I think comedy, there is still a lot of like crass humor that's just not my style.
Okay.
And yeah, like there have been times where I'm like, okay, can we not talk about that?
Yeah.
Can we get to something else? But yeah, it comes with the territory.
Representative Wilson-Anton, thank you so much for coming on. And we hope that this will not be the last time that you come onto the agenda.
I hope so too. Thanks for having me.
It's been great. And again, please come again. Tonight, we spent half an hour talking with a state representative who walked onto the comedy stage with nothing but a microphone and her own words. No immunity, no parliamentary procedure, just the risk that the room might turn on her in real time. Outside that room, the stakes are a little higher. As we sit here, Vladimir Putin is telling Europe that if it wants a war, Russia is ready to fight it and win it. While U.S. envoys try to sell a Ukraine peace plan that Europe says tilts too far towards Moscow, this is still the deadliest conflict in Europe since World War II. And tonight, the message out of the Kremlin is simple. If Europe starts a war, Russia intends to finish it. Back home, last week, a federal judge has already thrown out the criminal case against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Not because the facts were tested at trial, but because the Trump-backed prosecutor who brought the charges was unlawfully appointed in the first place. Believe it or not, the rule of law had to step in and remind the rule of law that it doesn't get to cut corners. Even for a president's enemies, you still have to follow the rule of law. And here in Delaware, it's even closer to home. A routine late-night patrol in a Wilmington park turned up a University of Delaware student sitting in a pickup truck after hours with a converted handgun, body armor, and ammo, and a notebook. Inside that notebook, warfare notes, assault tactics, and a hand-drawn diagram of the University of Delaware Police Department, complete with entry and exit points and a named officer. That person is now facing weapons charges and has been turned over to the FBI. The UD's interim president had to reassure students today that there is no known or immediate threat to the campus, even while calling the whole thing frightening to all of us. So on one end of the spectrum, you have a comics clock in Austin, 60 seconds to earn a laugh. On the other, you have a war in Europe, a justice system stress testing its own legitimacy, and a foiled attack on a campus police department in a state that likes to think things like that don't happen here. It happens somewhere else. Somewhere between the traffic stops in Canby Park and the courtroom in Virginia and a comedy stage in Austin is where you live. So, moving forward, just don't watch the clips, watch the votes, watch the rulings, watch the traffic stops that never make national news, but save lives anyway. I'm Kerwin Gaines. This is The Agenda. Thanks for watching. Good night.